My father died at 58. I was certain the same fate was waiting for me. That certainty stole 35 years of my life. Not illness, not genes, not destiny. It was that belief. And today I want to tell you what really happens to the body when a person lives expecting death, and why it is more dangerous than any hereditary diagnosis. Sit down. This will take 15 minutes. But what you are about to hear, I never heard from a single doctor in all my 80 years.
His name was Eugenio, a bricklayer, a big, silent man who never complained and never went to doctors. One November morning, he simply didn't wake up. His heart, it just stopped. I was 23. I stood by his coffin thinking only one thing. I am his son. His blood is my blood. His heart beats in my chest. That means I will die the same way. And here's the frightening part. I lived the next 35 years with that thought. At 50, I started counting the years I had left. 8, then 7, then 6. I stopped making plans. Why buy furniture? Why dream about Portugal, the place Conchita and I had talked about for 30 years? In the evenings, when she thought I was asleep, I could hear her quietly crying in the kitchen. That hurt more than any diagnosis. At 57, 1 year before the age my father died, I went to a cardiologist, not because I felt pain, but because I wanted to see my sentence written on paper.
A young doctor with cold hands ran tests, checked my blood pressure, looked at my cholesterol. Then he sat across from me and said, "For your age, everything is normal. Come back in a year." I walked out of that office, and I didn't feel relief. I felt lost. Because my fear wasn't in my blood or my arteries. It lived somewhere doctors with cold hands cannot reach. And at that moment, I still didn't know the most important thing. That fear was slowly destroying me from the inside. Every day, every night, every morning when I opened my eyes, and the first thing I thought about was my father. But I'll come back to that later. First, I need to tell you about the morning that changed everything. I turned 58 in silence. Conchita baked a cake. The children came, the grandchildren. Everyone laughed. And I sat at the head of the table, feeling like a man who had just crossed a minefield, without understanding how. The next morning I woke up, stood up, walked to the mirror, and for the first time in 35 years I thought, what if I've been wrong all this time? What if it wasn't about genes? What if my father didn't die because he was doomed, but because no one ever told him that life could be different? That question became the beginning of the most important investigation of my life. Don Severo lived 2 houses away from us, a small, thin man in his 70s. Every morning, exercise in the yard. Every evening, a book on the bench by his gate. He survived a heart attack at 62, buried his wife and his brother, and still walked outside every day as if life was just beginning. One evening, I sat next to him and asked directly, "Don Severo, how do you do it?" He stayed silent for a long time, then said, "Leonardo, your father didn't die because of bad genes. He died because he lived his whole life in a fire no one could see. Chronic stress, chronic inflammation. the constant feeling that there is no way out. That kills more surely than any disease. I looked at him and felt something inside me, something old and heavy, slowly begin to break. And you, he added quietly, are doing the same thing. You just call it fate. That night I didn't sleep. Not from fear. For the first time in years, not from fear. But because pieces in my mind were finally coming together. I remembered how my father never rested, only worked. How he ate standing, in a hurry. How he never spoke about what he felt, because a man endures. And how he died without ever allowing himself to sit down and breathe. And I realized I was repeating his life, not through genes, through fear.
Fear had made me his copy, long before any diagnosis could. The science I started reading after that conversation confirmed what Don Severo said in simple words. Chronic fear is not just an emotion, it's physiology. Constantly elevated cortisol damages blood vessels, exhausts the adrenal glands, suppresses the immune system, and triggers systemic inflammation. And it is this inflammation, silent, invisible, burning for years, that is the true cause of most cardiovascular diseases. Not cholesterol alone, not blood pressure alone, but a body that is exhausted, cornered, and afraid to live. And what shocked me most was this. Scientists have proven that lifestyle can literally switch genes on and off. Cells can renew themselves, mitochondria can recover at 70, 75, even 80 years old. Genes are not a sentence, they are a deck of cards. But how you play those cards is entirely up to you. I was 59 when I began to change. And I'll be honest, the first months were hard. Not because my body resisted, but because fear did.
It didn't want to leave. It came back at night, whispering the same old words. You will die like him anyway. Why even try? But I continued. Every day, 30 minutes of walking. At first around the block, then farther. I removed from my table what I had eaten for decades without thinking. I began sleeping in darkness and silence, and discovered that the body can recover overnight in ways it cannot during a whole day of rest. I learned to sit in silence and just breathe. And one morning, I cannot say exactly when, it happens quietly, I woke up and realized I was no longer thinking about my father. I was thinking about going out to see the roses before the morning dew disappeared. Today, I am 80 years old. My father lived 58, and I finally understood why I lived 22 years longer. Not because I was lucky with my genes, but because at 58 I asked myself a question he never asked. What if I'm wrong? That question is the shortest and most powerful break from any family destiny. If you are carrying someone else's story inside you right now, your father's, your mother's, your grandfather's, I want you to remember one thing. You may be holding someone else's cards, but you will play the game with your own hand. Your story is still being written. Every morning you open your eyes, you are holding the pen. My father didn't know that. I didn't know that for almost 40 years. But today you do. And that is enough to begin.